Hey y'all, Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and this is my Seattle housing market watch for May 14th, 2025. If you missed out on the monthly market updates that I published last week, go take a look at those videos because I shared how we're at all-time or right near all-time highs in King and Snohomish County, really across the board. And the mortgage rates are still hovering right around 7%, 6.95% on Mortgage News Daily's survey of some of the top lenders across the country. It's interesting because now you're paying significantly more for a house with these higher prices and higher interest rates at the same time. And the market is still hot. We're seeing multiple offers in many places across King and Snohomish County. And we're also seeing lots and lots of pending sales. So the sales activity is still there. The multiple offers are still there, but we are starting to see the inventory building. That's something else I mentioned in those videos. And we are nearing or getting closer to, but haven't hit the critical mass of when we start to see the market slowing down a little bit and it's getting a little bit more equitable for buyers and sellers. Now, we are seeing a lower average percentage over list price on offers. So that just means we're seeing more houses selling below asking or at the asking price. I think we're still seeing quite a bit of competition. And on those offers, you're seeing over asking price. But we are starting to see things changing, but it's weird. It's almost like it was slowing down and now it's been picking up a little bit, but it still should be slowing down. So we're not quite there. I think there's just a lot of great houses coming on the market right now too. This is when you start to see the largest number of new listings. But if we look at some of the data here, this week we had quite a bit fewer listings than last week, which is going to help with inventory, at least to keep the competition up. 906 new listings versus 1,033. So about 100 or a little more than 100 new listings more last week than this week. We saw 498 price reductions. Again, 498. That means that those houses are not going to be selling for their original asking price. Even if they do sell for the asking price later, they didn't get the original asking price. That's more than half of the new listings that just came on, right? And last week, we had 509 price reductions. So we're seeing a lot of price reductions. And I think that does skew those numbers a little bit when we start looking at amount over asking price because it's the current asking price, not necessarily with the original asking price. And if we see the original asking price, we might actually see a little bit lower than asking price on average. So something to keep in mind. Some houses are clearly selling right away, getting over asking price, but there's also some that are sitting or taking a couple weeks, maybe having a price reduction. I think for buyers, and I'll just say this now, when you see a house that's been on the market for a few weeks and it hasn't gotten multiple offers, it's most likely an opportunity to jump in. Maybe you could get a little bit lower than the asking price, but at worst, you're not competing with other people and paying significantly more to fight over the house. So that for a buyer, I think is a big win. You could save money just by not paying over asking price. But if you could get the price down even more, that's also a plus for buyers. Talking about pending listings, we did see fewer pendings this week, 838 versus 950 last week. I would say a lot of that's probably just less new listings coming on the market would be the biggest difference there. We did see quite a bit fewer sales as well, 499 versus 685 the previous week. Again, the numbers on sales vary on a weekly basis. Ultimately, what we want to see by the end of the month is a healthy amount of sold listings, and we're trending in that direction for May. I would bet that the May sales will be higher at the end of the month than they are now, and most likely higher than the sales totals in April in both King and Snohomish County. Now, we've been focusing in on each individual county in these updates over the past month or so, and I want to continue with that. So let's start with King County. Last week, the median sales price in King County was over $1 million, $1,010,000, which is more than last week. Last week was $960,000. I think it's also important to note that over $1 million, that $1,010,000 is right at or around the median sales price record for King County. So we're in that place right now. Homes are selling for a premium in King County back to where they were back in 2020. 22. And I also mentioned that the amount over asking seems to be shrinking, that average. So we're right at 100%. So list price is the average in King County. I shared some of those listings are listings that were on the market and the price came down. Some of those listings also would have sold for over asking price. And so you start to see some of that balance, but right at asking price is the average across King County. Multiple offers slowed down a tiny bit, 33% on the listings versus 36 last week. We also saw 17% of pending sales include an escalation clause or addendum versus 19 last week. So just modest slowdown, but still important to note. Pendings with financing addendums. Last week, we had 57% of all offers. This week, 63% of all offers. So more offers included a financing contingency. They also, by 1%, 32 versus 31% last week, included an inspection addendum in their offer. So we saw a slight slowdown in multiple offers. We saw a slight increase in contingencies or protections for buyers in King County. This does indicate that the market is slowing down a little bit for the buyers, which is good, but they're still fighting over the different listings based on the data that we're looking at. Let's take a quick look at Snohomish County too, as we're nearing the end of this update. And Snohomish County saw a median sales price last week of $901, which is quite a bit more than last week's $790. The median sales prices, again, fluctuate a lot on a weekly basis. So we'll take a look at that number in our monthly market updates. So we've got the King and Snohomish County monthly market updates. The average sales price to list price was right at 100% again, so the same as last week. Multiple offers in Snohomish County actually picked up last week. So we saw 37% of all listings in Snohomish County have multiple offers versus 29% the week before. We also saw 15% of the offers include the escalation addendum. The previous week we had 12%. We saw fewer financing addendums, 69% versus 75%. And we also saw fewer pendings with inspection addendums, 31%. Last week, 35%. So King County was seeing a little bit fewer multiple offer scenarios, a little less competition. Snohomish County actually saw more. And that's why I say overall, we still haven't hit that critical mass where the housing market is starting to slow down very much. We're seeing signs of it, but also we're having weeks like this where it seems to be even more competitive than it was the week before and the week before that. Overall, across King and Snohomish County, the housing market is still hot. It hasn't slowed down all the way. We're still in the middle of the spring selling season, the prime time to be listing your house. I think we're starting to see signs, though, that it is going to be easier for buyers in the near future to make a purchase, a little less competition coming. But even weeks like this, we're seeing more multiple offers in Snohomish County and more competition than we did before. I think a lot of that is more great houses coming on the market. I mentioned that earlier, and I think that's going to continue. We're going to see more and more great houses coming on the market as the summer starts to arrive. But at the same time, once we get to too many houses on the market, we're going to see the competition dying down because there are more options for the buyers. So sellers, you still have a chance here to capitalize on this hot market if you can act quickly. Buyers, you also have great opportunities to buy and choose from more houses right now, but you also have some really great opportunities coming up. Thanks so much for watching this week's Seattle Housing Market Watch. If you got some value out of this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you or someone you know is thinking about jumping into the housing market, I'd love to connect.